Hey everyone, how are y'all doing out there? We're back here with another session of HR Heretics. I'm so excited to have Dave Margulius on today, Nolan. So Dave is one of the co-founders and a board member at Quizlet. You all know I've been interim chief people officer for Quizlet for about 7 months now and have been working closely with Dave and the board. And Dave and I chatted a few months ago, Nolan, and he had this incredible story of how they started Quizlet and why they started it and the journey of that, and how Dave was in his 40s when he started Quizlet with teenagers, and how that went, and has been there for 18 years, which is a whole nother topic that I'd love to talk about with that 18 years. But we're so excited to have you and dig into this today, Dave, and your journey as a founder, and learn some nuggets from you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, Dave, you haven't fired Kelli yet? Can we start there?
She's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. We'll talk offline.
Got to stay on your toes because, we are testing some AI CPOs. And
here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Right into it, Dave. This is what we wanted.
They're making a robot version of me, and it's going to replace me, and it swears less. So it'll be great. But Quizlet's a great company, Dave. I mean, first of all, I've stayed there for longer than I thought I would because the culture and the humans are wonderful, which is my number one. But Nolan, I've told you multiple times over the past 6 months, it's an incredible business, started 20 years ago and has a great, I'm not going to go into details, but, Series C company, very successful organically. And you just don't see that a lot.
Yeah, Dave, give us a rundown.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'll go into sell mode here with you, Kelli. Really now's the time to join full time, because the opportunity ahead of Quizlet has never been bigger. And I'll just give a little big picture here on global education online. There's $5 trillion a year gets spent on education, and most of that is people in buildings. Meanwhile, the attention of all the kids has shifted to their phones, right? And a big problem with education is it's too expensive. We used to hear in the early days from people on Navajo reservations or in the outback of Australia or in Russia, Brazil, or whatever, hey, this is cool, a free tool we can just use because, we don't have access to a teacher or a schoolhouse or whatever. And so technology can scale to do that. There's going to be 2 or 3 companies that figure out how to be the global brand and platform for inspiring kids to learn, helping them to learn. And they're going to be huge. We're in a position to be one of them, which I'm really excited about. We have a new team on board, a new CEO who you've been working with, and our pace of innovation is accelerating. And now we can leverage AI. So I'm just really excited about the future. And I'm excited about it for another reason, which is that, we have a lot of innovation that we need in the world. I work on climate now. Just to solve the climate problems, we need a lot of innovation to happen fast, right? And we don't know which of these 2 billion students in the world is going to be the next, Albert or Jane Einstein, and figure out these things. And so we need to educate all of them. And any tool that can scale and do a good job helping kids, study and learn, that's how we're going to get these innovations faster. Right now, everybody's on their screens. They're mostly on TikTok, right? We need them to be studying, learning also. And it's really good that all the big LLM platforms are launching study stuff. That's exciting because more studying and learning is just good.
Totally.
So I'll start off with that. That's been sort of the driver the whole time. If you want, I can tell you kind of how we got started. But I've been really lucky. I was really lucky to randomly run into this kid who was 17, who had this passion for education, had coded a study app that he was using with his friends in his high school, and it started to spread. And then I got to work with, a bunch of his friends and MIT interns who were all teenagers in this window of time where they had access to all these great tools and APIs and free platforms and cloud services that they could just put shit together and get it out there and make it happen and let it scale. So I got lucky to be able to work with them. They were so good and passionate. And then I've gotten lucky after, because we did finally raise money in 2015, USV, Costa Noa Ventures, Altus Ventures. And we've had really good high integrity VCs on the board. We've had a good board. The first professional CEO we hired was a great guy, high integrity. And the company has had this culture of yeah, we care about education, we care about the users, and that's been wonderful. What's really exciting is what's happening now, which is we're revving it up, and we've got all this cool stuff in the pipeline for this fall and next year, and this can be big. So that's my pitch to you, Kelly.
That's so good. I can't believe you just started this thing pitching Kelly, which is like made my day.
See, I'm doing a good job, Nolan.
Yeah. Me and Dave are going to talk offline. Dave, I want to talk about this CEO hire. I'm assuming what happens is you decide to step down, then we're going to find a replacement CEO. What was that like? How did you find that person? What was the dating process like? How has it been for your team? Like that's, founder-led companies are kind of like the thing now. And many of these founders don't step away for a very long time. So can you walk us through that experience?
Well, yeah, happy to. We're actually on CEO 3 now. I was 1.
Okay.
Really great guy named Matt Klotzbach was CEO number 2. And now we're on CEO number 3. But I think probably I should tell the story of how we got from 2007 to 2015.
Please.
And so, I launched my first website in 1995, which was basically the year the web started. It was Boston.com, owned by the Boston Globe and New York Times company. Did that for a few years, went and worked at Netscape, Evite, some other startups at a VC firm, got into enterprise stuff. And by 2006, I decided, I want to do consumer stuff again, but I don't want to raise money. I've seen that movie. What can I do? Bootstrapped. Tried to learn HTML and CSS, and actually was able to build some websites and come up with some ideas. And then realized, I can't code. I need somebody who can code. I don't have any money. Who can I find who I can work with? Yeah. And I was going to WordPress meetups, and Matt Mullen was actually at the WordPress meetups in those days. And I asked him, do you know anybody? He's like, well, there's that kid. And he pointed me to just a wonderful human being, Andrew Sutherland, who is the kid in question who started Quizlet in his high school. And I started working with him when he was in high school, literally driving over the bridge, waiting till high school was out, picking him up at high school. We'd go to a coffee shop, we'd pay for the Wi-Fi, and we'd sit there and work together initially on the ideas I had. And I asked him, which of these do you want to work on? Because I had a bunch, and it's like, that one. And we built up that business. It was an eBay affiliate focused on vintage and antiques, which was just unbelievable to me that this was even possible. eBay was such a big, dumb company that had no idea how to merchandise its auction stuff. They were able to use their APIs and provide a better browse experience for all these different vintage categories. And then they'd give us a cut. So when somebody came to our site and bought a vintage record or a vintage Les Paul guitar or an expensive brooch, and these are $4,000 or $5,000 items, sometimes $10,000, we'd get a cut, which was 6-7%. And so we started this, we coded it in 1 weekend, and then we added some content later. Literally in 1 weekend, I had several conversations with Andrew, and this is what's inspiring about working with teenagers and young people is they don't have all these preconceived notions about what's possible. So I would, pick them up, we'd get to the coffee shop and I'd say, hey, I had this idea. How many months would it take to build this? And he'd be like, months. We could do that this weekend. And then he would, and that was just so inspiring. So
he's the OG vibe coder.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors. Your workforce is your organization's greatest strength and often its largest single expense. But without the right tools, understanding where your workforce spend is going or how it impacts your bottom line can be a challenge. That's where Planful comes in. With Planful, HR and finance teams get the clarity they need to make smarter workforce decisions, gain real-time visibility into workforce fluctuations, forecast with confidence, and adjust talent acquisition plans collaboratively based on costs today and into the future. No more guesswork, just data-driven insights to help you plan with accuracy. And the best part, Planful is fast and easy to implement, so you can be up and running in weeks, not months, with minimal IT support. Plus, as your company grows, Planful grows with you, providing endless runway for strategic workforce planning at any scale. Ready to take your workforce planning to the next level? Join over 1,500 organizations already using Planful. Visit planful.com/heretics to learn more.
I must admit, I used to believe that AI didn't actually exist in recruiting or HR. That is until my friend Heather Doche, who leads talent at Signalfire, told me to check out Metaview. I got into the product and was like, wow, AI actually does exist in recruiting, and this product is sick. Metaview is the world's #1 AI scribe built specifically for recruiting. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. I've seen firsthand how tough it can be to extract consistently high-quality data from candidate conversations. I've been in debriefs where interviewers told us about their feelings instead of what actually happened in the interview. And I've seen VPs and CEOs block hires because they didn't learn anything from skeleton scorecards. Metaview changes everything. With perfect notes from every conversation, your people can focus on creating a human connection with candidates, and they can save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate and every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions, and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Metaview covers all your compliance needs, works with all your existing tools, and takes less than 3 minutes to set up. Join talent leaders at organizations like Brex, Deel, HelloFresh, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts. Tell them that me and Kelly sent you. Or you could just go to their website and get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI enabled in minutes.
So that is so interesting, because I'm drawing parallels to, like, you know, those kids that showed up at the White House with their laptops and did all the Doge shit. Like, I feel like that was very rare back then. You know what I mean? Like, right? Like, but now all these kids with AI.
I don't know. So when I met him, he was already involved in like several open source projects and building on MooTools and other stuff. He had hacked into his high school's like grading system just to show that it could be done. And he took it down to the principal. He's like, listen, I'm into your account. And they freaked out. And so the security company that had their thing like called him and said, do you want to work for us? And he was like, no, I want to work on, he was passionate about education. So like these kids, I don't know about those Doge people, but these kids I were working on, they weren't, I'm not going to even say it, like they were cool and they were wanted to build cool stuff that helped people and that had an impact at scale. So we did this, vintage thing. It started gushing cash, over like the 7 years we bootstrapped, it generated like $12 million, which we plowed it all into Quizlet. We set up an LLC with these two separate businesses so we could take all the revenue, just plow it into building Quizlet. And, the thing that happened was we worked together from 2007. It was just me and him for like almost 4 years. He wanted to go to college. So we decided, okay, we'll take it slow. You go to college, I'll build up the business, the team here in San Francisco. You'll come back and work summers. Then we started hiring people around 2011. And it turned out to mostly be people that he knew or were his peers or had met at MIT interns. We had the 17-year-old from San Jose State who was our DevOps person who was originally part-time, but like the web isn't part-time. So he was really full-time. We had the guy, Andrew, met when he was 16, who was now 18, who was the security and search expert who said, yeah, I'll come help you for a week. And, 2 years later, he's still there. And then the sort of most ridiculous one was our first iOS app was built by a 14-year-old. And what happened was we couldn't afford an iOS developer. This is like 2010, 11. So we put out an API like Twitter did and said, anybody who wants can build a Quizlet app. And like 100 people did. And they mostly sucked. There was like a content licensing thing and branding requirements and whatever. Some were good. One was great. So we were like, we should just try to hire that person. Somebody give them a call. And, somebody called and they're like, I think he's a little young. Well, how young? And so he was 14. We got on a plane, a couple people, Andrew and a product person, Joanna, got on a plane. She happened to be from that area, met with his mom, hung out with him, and we realized, wow, the summer's coming up. He could come for the summer and intern and build our first Quizlet app. He was up for it. His mom was up for it. His dad was up for it. The problem was they were getting a divorce, and it was really not, it wasn't amicable. They weren't even talking to each other. So what I had to then do was like get on the phone for weeks negotiating with them individually and finally making them get on. It was like everything I did was like counseling in those days, just to kind of wrangle people and keep them on board, recruit them, keep them
Sounds like
excited.
HR, Dave. Sounds like an HR job.
Pretty much. That's what I think, that starting an early stage startup, especially without VC capital, is like starting a religion. Like you got to be selling every day, evangelizing every day. And, you know, that's what we did. And Andrew helped too. He was great at it. He's not only technically very talented guy, but he's sort of business savvy. And he was good at like selling the gospel of like, yes, you could go to Stripe, you could go to Dropbox. Here's why you should do this, because you can have outsized impact. Like this is the only place, you know, Ryan, where you're going to be in charge of all the servers that are serving like thousands and tens of thousands of simultaneous users while doing it part-time and going to San Jose State, you know?
Dave, I can imagine how exhausting it must have been, like maybe being one of the only adults in the room, maybe the only one for a while, and building a business and kind of teaching them through that. What was the mental model for you to be able to do all that? How did you like organize your energy and how did you keep that up?
It was just pure adrenaline. I'd get up, I'd swim, which is still my routine today. I'd go into work and then I'd just start doing it. And, you know, like I'd end up doing the crappy stuff, you know, the payroll stuff, all the HR, the legal, the financial, the accounting, like as cheap as we could, because we didn't have that much money. Like by the time we raised money, we had 35 people and $1 million in the bank, which is way different than, you know, 3 years earlier when we had these core 8 people and $1 million in the bank. So it was just pure adrenaline and living it. And the tough thing was keeping up with them because they were living it too. There was a core group of like 7 or 8 engineers, these all under 20, and then a couple product people who were like 21, 22, right out of college. And they would kind of roll in at 10. They'd do a little work. They'd go out to this Korean barbecue place for lunch. That was like a 2-hour delay of game. They'd come back, they'd get rolling. And then we ordered in expensive sushi, you know, at 8. And then that was another 2-hour delay game. And then they'd really get to work at like 10, 10:30, you know. And I was like, I can stay here till midnight, but then I can't, you know, so it just was exhausting, but it was also so cool to watch what they could build and how many students we were serving. We were in every country, you know. We had a great model. The freemium model is the one that works in consumer and especially in education. Selling to schools doesn't work, which is why not too many good entrepreneurs have gone into education. It doesn't scale, right? So yeah, it was pure adrenaline and also fear. Like this was my only thing. Like I had to make it work. I didn't have a plan B or a fallback plan. So I just made it work.
Yeah. I do want to talk about this like CEO change. So you guys ran the business, you raised VC capital, and then talk to us about like when you decided to step away from operating day to day.
So really it has to do with from 2007 to like 2012, all of these young people were like thrilled to just be doing this. Like it was serving kids their age. It was cool technical problems to solve. It was fun. They would just do it in a pack, like, and they were motivated by like, can we build a cool multiplayer game with the cutting edge technology? That started to change like around 2013 when, you know, Facebook acquired Instagram for $1 billion and there were random companies getting acquired for $100 million. You know, Stripe was looking like it was going to be huge and Uber. And so they started to be like, yeah, what we're doing is cool, but like we really need the VC money. to have that cachet to attract the best engineers. Starting 2013, 14, I didn't want to do VC. Like, we didn't actually need to. We could have bootstrapped it. And I'd seen the movie, right? I didn't want to do that movie. As it turned out, we had bootstrapped enough for long enough and built something strong enough that we could handpick our VCs. And we did end up needing the money because we had the footprint of Taco Bell with the resources of a taco truck, I used to say. So at that point, it was also clear that I wasn't the right CEO. They wanted to go faster with a professional CEO, with VCs. And so we did this transition where we, Andrew and I with the VCs picked the CEO together. We interviewed lots of people. We got an awesome guy with really good values whose, parents have been teachers, really believed in the mission, but also had run big chunks of Google. So knew how to do what I couldn't, which is scaling from 35 to 300 people. So that was really the transition. And we got lucky with Matt. And I think we've gotten lucky with Kurt, our new CEO now, this time around. But that's basically the story. And then I was fried. Then I just had a year or two of just recover your health because I pushed myself too far. And doctors were telling me hey, if you don't stop doing this, you're just going to die. So
wow,
it worked out well.
Yeah. And then, we're in a little bit of a moment right now to where, as Kelly tells it to me, we're homies, and she texts me and she's like, hey, this place actually cares about people, and they're really nice here and they look out for each other. That doesn't seem to be the case in Silicon Valley anymore, especially for early stage tech companies. Where does that come from? And why have you maintained it candidly in a working environment where you probably don't need to anymore?
Okay, so I'll give two answers. One is we've had to be a good place to work because they know we can't offer them the same cash that Facebook can offer them, right? So there has to be some fulfilling life thing of being at Quizlet. Yes, you're dealing at big scale, solving tough technology problems, but also, hey, I feel good. I'm helping students all around the world, and they treat me well. And there's a culture of treating people well and being collaborative that started with our earliest hack nights, Yeah. But here's the other thing, we didn't start too far before Uber, and I'm not a douchebag, and Andrew wasn't a douchebag. He's the greatest guy with the greatest values. He had great values when he was 17. He's in his 30s now. He's got good values now. And so we just naturally did that. And if it got in the water and outlived us, he left the company a few years ago. I'm still on the board, so I've been involved for a long time, but not operationally. It's just how it started.
Yeah, I'm a big believer, Dave, in the power of the sustainability of how founders start that company. You use the metaphor in the water, but I always said, and I've been part of really great companies with very above board values and this or that. And I've been a part of not great companies with not above board values. And they tried to kind of band-aid it and put lipstick on it. And I was like, listen, these companies are almost like humans. They have core personalities that start from everything that you do a million times a day, consistently over time. And you can change your personality a little bit, but you can't really change the core. And I really believe that. And 18 years later, I think that's still there.
And that was on purpose. I mean, I worked at Netscape, and that was pretty cutthroat, and there was a lot of politics. After it got big and went public, that's when I was there. But still, decent people. There's good people everywhere, but being able to bootstrap gets you out of a situation where you're pressurized by VCs, because VCs come in and they got a model, right? And the model says, okay, we invested X. We need at least 3X, if it's later stage by this time, or we want a 10X, we're patient, but hey, let's monetize this. You got a lot of users, right? Our VCs were high integrity. I don't necessarily agree with all the decisions the company's made over the past 10 years since I've been CEO, but we've made rational ones, not crazy thrashing around, political factions fighting. We just haven't had any of that. And it's not so much down to me and Andrew. It's like all the people who came in around us, like, and in that first 35 people, there were several without whom of which, like, we just wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I love actually your take on that, because I've come across this a lot in my career and venture, where there's a healthy tension between the mission of the company and why a lot of founders started the company, with the pressure to return an ROI and the business side of it, if you will. And I remember being at GitHub right when that was, kind of at full reign, when it was very mission oriented, right? We want to, coders on Haight Ashbury, and that's why we're here. And then GE comes in with a bunch of money and they want this. And there was kind of different camps, in the company around, are we selling out, if that makes sense. So how have you all balanced like that intense mission driven culture that I hear about every day with the need to 3x or 10x, to your point?
Yeah, so let me just say there's also a difference between SaaS companies, which I think is most companies that VCs fund these days, and consumer companies, where SaaS just comes with a monolith, like, ARR, CAC, and LTV, like, let's make this engine work. There's some customer locking. Like, when we were doing our CEO search to find Kurt, like, what became apparent is there's just very few non-founder CEOs who really have experience running consumer startup tech companies. And so it's sort of a whole different thing. And it has to be driven by passion and vision and the business model, like this thing of free and freemium, right? Which VCs don't love when they hear it, because it's like a free in the word. And why are we giving away this thing to all these people free? It's because you freaking have to. That's what made Google big. That's what made YouTube big. That's what made, name your consumer app that we're addicted to now. But at some point, you also do have to like go for the jugular and really compete and have that DNA too. And so, I think it's hard to keep that going without a founder as the CEO. But we've somehow managed to do it. And I'll credit, Matt, who was the CEO after me, with doing it. And now I'd say, like, hey, like, maybe we got a little complacent in the past few years and we chased some stuff which really wasn't core to our mission. And we just thought, hey, we're a big brand. We've got this cool thing. The students love it. But guess what? Like, it's another moment of innovation and disruption. And we have the scale, we have the data, we have this great team. We have all these assets, we have a brand, but you know what? We got to innovate much faster. And I think we realized this as a board like 3 years ago. And that's what's happening now. And it's really cool, with more of a like go for the jugular, wartime lens. And so the question is, can you keep that and also the mission driven stuff? And, since I'm just on the board, I don't really have any control over it. You do, Kelly, more than I do. And that's why I'm excited that you're going to be joining full time.
I see what you're doing. That was brilliant. And I mean, on that though, it's rare. I don't remember if I've ever seen a venture company that's been 18 years old. Usually it's, it goes public or it gets sold or doesn't work out. 18 years is quite the journey, Dave. That's awesome. In those 18 years, how have you kept competitive? Do you know what I mean? Like, what mistakes have you all made? What advice do you have for other founders that are starting companies or 2 years in on how to stay paranoid? Did you screw up in any way?
Here's a big one. Keep your costs low. Be capital efficient. I'm very proud of the fact that every dollar we raised is still in the bank and more. Like, we've never actually technically needed the money we've raised. It's still in the bank because we've been very capital efficient. This freemium model actually really works because the word of mouth does the marketing for you. You're not paying to acquire customers. And so I would say to entrepreneurs now, like, whether you bootstrap for 2 months or 2 years or 8 years like we did, try to do that, because it gives you this discipline of capital efficiency and keeping your costs low. And like, focus on really what you need to do rather than we have all this money, we're trying all these things. And it just gives you more runway to figure it out and to get your DNA into the company. And so, yeah, we have, so come back to vision, how we last, I think it's actually pretty common for companies that turn into great companies to be 18 years old. And you can probably name them better than I have, but like starting with Microsoft or even Duolingo in our space, which is, they didn't start too much after us, right? And people are only hearing about, oh my God, Duolingo now in the past 5 years, but it's because they spent a long time in the wilderness, like figuring out how to innovate, make their product great, understanding the market, understanding the users. So I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, it does.
It's a very big world is the other thing. And the whole thing with scale and technology is there's different like thresholds where, okay, now we're at the scale where we can do X, Y, Z. And then you get to the next scale and it's like, okay, we can be much more ambitious. International is an example. So I don't think there's a limit to what Quizlet can do. I think we're kind of just still near the start.
Yeah, it's just like earning the right to solve the next problem, right? And like you guys are figuring out as you go along, all right, we start here and this is what we're doing. And then you kind of just like continue to grow. But to Kelly's point, 18 years is a long time for, for you. How much did you say you raised, Dave? 50 million?
It's a little bit north of that, but not much north of that.
Yeah. And so what's the pitch to candidates then? Right? Because like, what's the pitch to candidates? Because like if I'm a candidate, like, and you're giving me equity, I'm thinking about like, what's my liquidity path?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Kelly, you want to do the pitch?
Well, this is where the mission, that's the real talk of the mission-driven question connected with the ROI,
and not the mission-driven. The mission-driven is good, but you can make a lot of money. If you start at Quizlet now and get options at the current price, like, this thing can grow 10x, 20x in the next 3 or 4 years on the business plan we have. It's a very big world. We are, very strong in the US. We're a little bit underpenetrated internationally. We have a frequency opportunity, which is like right now, a lot of students use us for one subject, and we can get them using us for, more than one subject, once a week rather than once a month, once a day rather than once a week. And so, and this has also become like what people do. That this generation, it was true of even those kids who started using Quizlet who are fully grown up in their 40s now, who used it on the web. But now it's just like everybody's doing everything on their phones. Like, why shouldn't we be the thing that you're
100%? But is it a public path? Is it an M&A path? Is it a secondary path? Like what? Like if I joined.
But Nolan, every company I've joined, no one said, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, but it's 18 years in is the difference.
It doesn't matter. It's going to be big. From here, like, look at NVIDIA's stock price, right? Like how long did NVIDIA go before it hit this AI thing?
But it's been public for a long time. My point is just a time to liquidity. Which is, I think a lot of people now, given that we have lived through this age of startups, it takes longer than anybody thinks. Like everybody's aligned with that now.
Right. There is this whole secondary thing, and we've done some of those. We've had a couple of tenders.
Yeah.
I forget the exact, a few years ago, another one. And so there is that.
Well, if you're going to take employees with you on a 26 year, 18 to 26 years, but you have to have liquidity events. You have to have secondaries.
That's my question.
But the other thing, and I'll be really honest about this might be helpful to people that are listening. It's a bloodbath out there right now. There's layoffs every other week. SaaS companies are going under. You got AI companies that are raising this. And to your point, Dave, maybe pissing it away and being irresponsible in this frenzy. Quizlet is like the responsible parent. It is like the tons of money in the bank, making money, growing.
So that's the key. What you just said, like the fact that we have a lot of money in the bank, that's fine. That's good. We're not burning money. We're cash flow positive pretty significantly, right? So we can still invest heavily in the business. We're going to be around, and we have the staying power to be in the game. Like most of these entrepreneurs have gone into education, they shake out, they got acquired. We just had this big meltdown with a company that should not be named, Chegg, which went public, high valuation. made all these acquisitions, and then just cratered.
I had two friends that worked there, two friends that got impacted by working there, 100%.
I will tell you that in 2012, the CEO, who I will not name, called us in. And like I went with one of our engineers, and he's like, you should sell to us, for $500,000. Otherwise, we're going to steamroll you. And I'm just
holy shit,
dude, like, we're going to steamroll you. And
like, a t-shirt and a hat. We're going to steam.
What? Yeah.
You made a t-shirt. Yeah. But the other thing is, for those real, those things as well, Dave, but also the upside, Nolan. Like, I will tell you, I'm not going to give away all the numbers here, but I haven't seen a venture company this late in the game there's actually a low 4.9A. There's a lot of money in the bank. It's Series C. I mean, it's not your usual resume on paper that you would look at. So you have to look at all those components. I guess we'll end off on a question I have is where is Andrew now, Dave, your teenage co-founder? What's he doing?
He is, I believe, in San Diego working on a really cool math software startup that I don't know a lot about it, that caters to like very sophisticated math, like the folks who like compete for these international prizes. And, I think he's done a bunch of cool things. I don't talk to him a lot, but every once in a while, he's done a bunch of cool things on the sort of YIMBY movement and trying to get sort of development of housing going faster and community stuff. He was always into that. And in fact, like the very first money that ever came into Quizlet was a donation thing for a Katrina hurricane or follow on from that, because he had gone and spent a summer in high school doing Katrina cleanup. There was the first thing, what turned into Quizlet Plus was like this donation to the Red Cross. And then we kind of realized, we probably need another revenue model other than ads, which were on AdWords at the time, and ads, and so we started having Quizlet Plus where you got no ads for like $10 a year. And then we upped it to 15 and you could add images to your study sets.
Cool.
But yeah, he's doing cool stuff.
Awesome. I can't thank you enough for coming on here, Dave. It is a very unique origin story and just a unique profile company, Nolan. So hopefully everyone took something away and really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for telling us the story, Dave.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.